Okay, get started here. I guess if you guys can hear me, we're already off to a better start than we were last week when I forgot to unmute my mic for the first 30 or 40 seconds, so that's good. I'd like to welcome you to Heath's second virtual conference here. And welcome you to those that were with us last week. We had a phenomenal attendance last week, so we appreciate everybody for showing up. And I guess as long as we keep having people that are interested in seeing stuff, we'll keep trying to do these on a somewhat regular basis. So for today, I kind of have two things we wanted to discuss with you. First is going to be our Detectopack Infrared Plus, or DPIR Plus, which is an upgrade over our previous DPIR that you all may be familiar with. And then also today, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about some of the field services that Heath offers. So Heath has about 1,500 employees across the United States, and kind of wanted to give you an idea of what some of those folks do and how we may be able to assist you guys as well. So I know we have some, I guess, people joining us here from across the United States and across the world. So we really appreciate your attendance here. We know your time is valuable, so it means a lot that you're able to share a little bit with us, share it with us here today. So hope everybody is healthy. Hope everyone's safe and doing well and obeying the social guidelines that you're supposed to be obeying. And now I guess I hope everyone is out there is avoiding their murder hornets, which apparently are a thing now. So want to get started. Want to introduce myself. My name is Eric Six. Give me a second. I'm trying to get my content up here for the slideshow. So yeah, so my name is Eric Six. I am the representative for Heath for the states of Ohio and the Northeast part of the United States. I'm going to be kicking off the presentation here, kind of giving you an introduction and then going over the DPIR. I'm also joined by Ken Cower, our Vice President of Operations. Ken got me his profile pic, but he didn't do it until a little later, so I didn't have time to get it into the presentation on time. So I had to improvise and picked what I thought was the best representation for Ken that I could find. So Ken's going to be joining us here a little later. And then on our engineering side, we've got Kevin Bendelay as our Vice President of Products, and then Vineet Agrawal as one of our engineering managers is also going to be joining us. And then Vivian Marinelli, our Director of Marketing, is also here. So if you were with us last week, we're going to do the presentation very similar to how we had done it then. If this is your first time joining us, it's a little different than some of the video conferences that you may have been on in the past, like the Zoom meetings or a team meeting. This one is less of the one-on-one video interaction. This is going to be more of the like a presenter audience type of presentation here. So we do still encourage your participation. If you have some questions that you'd like to have answered, or if some of my slides that you have some questions on or like some more information on, please feel free to let us know. There should be in the bottom right of your screen there should be an area to ask questions. So as I'm speaking, as Ken's speaking, Kevin and Vineet may be trying to answer some of these in real time. And then at the end, when Ken and I are both done, Vivian will try to go through the questions and answer everything that we can. So kind of the agenda that we're talking about today. I was going to give you a little bit of backstory or history of Heath Consultants, just a brief introduction for Heath. Then kind of get into the DPIR Plus, kind of what the upgrades are that we've improved from the standard DPIR, methods for operation of it, the features, improvement, and then we've got some live field demos to be using as well for this one. So then I'm going to turn everything over to Ken and let Ken talk about the field services that Heath offers. Now, what Ken's going to talk about are the field services that we offer here in the United States. I know we have a lot of you in attendance from outside the United States. But however, we do have several of our distributors around the world that also offer similar services to what Ken's going to talk about, also utilizing some of the Heath equipment. And I think we have a couple of those in attendance today. So I'd like to welcome Jostler from India and then Heatech from Canada. So we appreciate your attendance. And then when Ken's done, we're going to kind of turn it over to Vivian and try to go through some of the questions and answers that you guys had. So quick backstory on Heath Consultants. For those that aren't familiar, Heath was founded in 1933 in Stoughton, Massachusetts, which is just outside of Boston. So this makes our 87th year in business. It's proudly a family-owned company. Carolyn Heath Haig is our current president and chairman of the board. So we're a woman-owned business and very proud of that fact. So here's some of the other just milestones that Heath has had along the way, some of the products we've introduced. On this slide here, you can see 2007 is when Heath came out with the first detect-opaque infrared, or the first DPIR. So I'm going to kind of show you, it's been 13 years since then. So we recently released the new one, and excited to tell you the upgrades on that one. So Heath itself is divided into three separate divisions. On here we have our products business unit, which consists of manufacturing, product sales, and our research and engineering. And then we've got our service business unit, which is our field service, our boots on the ground people. And that's what Ken's gonna talk to you about, is some of the SBU stuff that we have. And then about 6 years ago, Heath purchased Norton Corrosion. They are a full-scale corrosion engineering company. So those are the three main things that make up Heath Consultants. Here's kind of a map of what might be your contacts for Heath. So while I'm in sales for Heath as well, I'm the sole representative on the sales side here today with us. But my colleagues from across the country are in the room in attendance with us. So if you have some questions, or would just like some more one-on-one interaction with them, it's got their contact info up here, so you can kind of see where out in the country you're at, and reach out to them. And then Brian Chambers is our international salesman, so you can see his contact info on the bottom left. And I'll put this slide up again at the end of the presentation. So if you need to copy some of this information and didn't get a chance to do it now, I'll give you another opportunity to do that. So. I mentioned Heath was founded in Boston, Massachusetts. In the early 90s, we actually moved down to Houston, Texas, which is where our corporate office currently resides. And within the past few years, we recently completed our new 22,000 square foot manufacturing facility, which we're very proud of. So if you ever happen to be down in the Houston, Texas area, feel free to stop by. We'd love to give you a tour. One of the pieces of equipment that we do manufacture down at our plant in Houston is the detect-opaque infrared. So I know when we sent the invitations out for this, we asked if you currently own any DPIRs or if you don't, and I know it was a pretty mixed feedback we got. So for those of you that are not familiar with the DPIR, it's a highly sensitive, advanced leak detection device that is selective to methane. It's a pump-driven device that can find gas as low as 1 part per million and is upwards on the scale of 100% gas and air. So some of the features, at Heath, we're proud to present products that are very simple to use, and the DPIR is among those. So as far as the operation of the DPIR, it's a very simple, very easy instrument to use. You turn it on. Once it goes through its warm-up period, which it does itself, it's really ready to use. There is no other modes or buttons or knobs to turn to any other mode. As soon as it's warmed up, it's ready to go. We do recommend that you perform a daily self-test on it once a day, usually the first time when you start it up. And that takes about 30 to 40 seconds. I've got a video. I'll show you just how simple that is here later on in the presentation. But it's very easy to use. I mentioned it's highly sensitive, down to 1 part per million. An extremely fast response time. That's one of the new improvements we have on the DPIR Plus, is the increased response time. We've actually cut the response time in half for what the unit can detect. There's two modes, I guess, ways to visualize or to hear your leaks. You've got a DMD mode and a tick mode. Not to get too into the weeds, the DMD, it's digital methane detection. If you currently have a DPIR, you most likely use this mode. It's the mode where you hear nothing, it's quiet until you have a gas concentration that reaches your alarm threshold, and you'll get a beep 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 alarm on that. The tick mode, it's kind of like it sounds. It's a constant tick tick, like a Geiger counter. As gas increases, the tick rate increases. But most likely, you're using the DMD mode on there. So the DPIR, I mentioned it goes from 1 part per million. It goes upwards to 100% volume gas and air. So really mimics anything that a combustible gas indicator could do. So it's a versatile instrument. It's two instruments in one. So you have that low level sensitivity on the 1 part per million side, all the way up to 100% gas and air. When it reaches that, it's all done via auto scaling. So there is no buttons or knobs to turn. It will automatically scale from the parts per million to the percent gas in there once it reaches that threshold, which is 10,000 parts per million or 1% gas. So once it reaches that, it'll automatically start reading gas and air. There's a built-in self-test with it. So I mentioned we do recommend doing the self-test once a day. Everything you need to do that is built right into the instrument itself. So there's a little calibration cell in that. So there's nothing external, no other gases or bottles or tubing that you need for that. Everything is contained right into the instrument to perform that self-test. It's a rechargeable battery. You generally get 8, 9, 10 hours, so a full day of operation, no problem with the battery on the unit. It's intrinsically safe. So I mentioned it can be used as a combustible gas indicator. So being intrinsically safe means that you could also take the DPIR inside of a house in case you had gas that you needed to get in there. In case you were questioning whether there was gas inside the house, you can use it for that because it is intrinsically safe. Communication, downloading information can be done either via the RS-232 port on the back or Bluetooth. One of the other improvements with the DPIR Plus is the Bluetooth. We've improved that, and I'll get a couple slides that'll go into that here in a little bit. Fairly lightweight instrument, weighs about 5.5 pounds. And then I mentioned the self-test that we recommend doing once a day. Those records, when it's done, it's all kept internally on the instrument. So if you ever need to download that information, it's all stored on there. So it's easily accessible to get that information off there too. Some of the main methods for using the DPIR, firstly is for walking survey. So for walking survey, what I mean is you've got, let's say a pump-driven instrument, you've got the attached probe that you have, and you're monitoring the surface sample instrument. So with gas being lighter than air, it's going to vent to the surface. The DPIR is measuring those reads at the surface. So that's primarily going to be used for DOT, state and federal compliance to meet leakage survey guidelines. So when you're doing the walking survey and you get an indication in the low level parts per million range, your next step is to try to figure out the severity of that indication, or how much, the severity or the hazard of that potential leak. And by doing that, we need to take below ground or subsurface readings. And you can see the next picture there talks about centering and pinpointing. So what I mean by that is to find out the spread of that leak or the severity of that leak, we want to be able to check for readings under the ground. And to do that, you need a device that's capable of detecting percent gas and air, which again, the DPIR does. So on the centering side, what I mean by that is you want to try to find the spread of the leak, like how far that leak is spreading. So when we're talking about the surface sample readings, that's just telling you where that gas happens to be venting at. So, depending on your surface cover or the time of the year, whether there might be frost in the ground, that where the gas vents could be completely different from the spread of the leak. So we want to take those below ground subsurface readings with the DPIR to find out the spread of the leak. So is that spread, just a couple feet, or does it spread further down and adjacent to a building or a house? Which, if that's the case, we need to get inside and check the inside readings, which again, with the DPIR being intrinsically safe, we can go in and check those too. So it can be used for centering, and then pinpointing, which is telling us where the actual leak is at, or the highest concentration of the gas. So we're looking for the spread of the gas and the high concentration of the gas. So it's really a very versatile instrument where you can do the walking and then also the below ground subsurface sampling. It can also be used for doing mobile surveys. You see the third picture there, that usually consists of the instrument being used in conjunction with a mobile kit, which would be an external pump, and then drop cones you see in the bottom right of that third picture there. It could be used for mobile survey as well. And then it could also be used for above ground survey. And what I mean by this is primarily for the EPA Method 21 standard. So this the DPIR is approved by several states across the United States for this. And most recently was just approved in the state of California, and I think we might have some folks from California joining us here as well. So just wanted to state that. So how the DPIR actually works, and when I get into the description of how these products work, I'm not an engineer, so I like to try to get it into the most layman terms as possible. So the DPIR, it's a pump-driven instrument. So once that sample is intake to the instrument, inside there's a chamber. Now, one in the chamber, you have the infrared light. On the other end, you have a collector cell. So under normal circumstances, when there is no methane present, you have no interruption of that light going across that chamber. When you have an interruption, that's going to be caused by methane, and the DPIR is selective to methane. It's not going to false alarm and other hydrocarbons. So when methane happens to get in that chamber, that light is interrupted. So based on the amount of interruption, it's going to give you either a parts per million or a percent gas reading. So that's kind of the simplest way I can explain. I know there's a more engineering way to do that. So if you have questions on that, or you'd like some further explanation, let us know, and we can have our engineering folks describe that. But that's my layman's version for that. So I talked about the DPIR Plus. It's an upgrade on the current DPIR, or the previous DPIR. The DPIR, I mentioned the first sales of that were in 2007, and it's been a very successful instrument for us. We've had probably several thousand of them that are being used across the globe for that one. But again, it was 2007 technology, so we took a lot of the improvements that we were able to make and incorporated those into the DPIR Plus. The main benefits of that, or the main improvements on that, we put a new pump on there. Draws 2 liters a minute. The previous pump was 1.2 liters, and the pump that was on the previous DPIR, it's actually the same pump that we used to use for we use for our flame ionization instruments. So while the DPIR had the same response time really as the flame ionization instruments, the increased pump on this one really shortens that response time. So the other upgrade that we made to it primarily was the Bluetooth on there. We had the Bluetooth version 5 is the current version on there. The previous instruments, it was a lower in the Bluetooth. It was the 2007 version of it. So a lot of the users on the DPIR weren't really utilizing the Bluetooth at all, but for some that were, the DPIR, it's constantly outputting data that can be transmitted via Bluetooth. The problem with the older instrument was that Bluetooth device at the time wasn't compatible with today's standards of iPhone. So the iOS, Androids, Windows wasn't compatible with that. The new version, it is. So the main reasons for upgrading the unit, we really increased the response time, and the upgraded Bluetooth really takes advantage of that for the folks that did have some interest in the Bluetooth capabilities. So what does that mean for you? If you're a current user of the DPIR and you start to get the new DPIR Pluses, it's the same instrument as far as operation. There's no new approvals that will be needed on your end. It's actually the same part number that we're using. So there's no change to your procedures, the training. It's everything is going to be done the same there. So starting, it was earlier this year actually. Any new orders are shipping out as DPIR Pluses, and I know one of the questions that will most likely be asked, so go ahead and answer it now. The older units are not upgradable. I know that the two main benefits that I said, it was an increased pump on Bluetooth. It's not really as simple as just putting a new pump in there. There's a lot more behind the scenes with that. We upgraded a lot of the optics, the electronics, the circuit board on there. So it's not able to upgrade the older units. So, but again, it's everything's as far as you as an operator, still intrinsically safe, still uses the same. So on the DPIR, there's 2 ranges on it. So I mentioned you can do the leak survey, the low level sensitivity, and it goes up to the high end FAT. It's your 2 scales on there. It's 0 to 10,000 parts per million, and then which is 1% gas, and then 1% gas up to 100% gas. And you as a user don't need to worry about switching anything on here. It's all done automatically. So let's say if you're out there doing a survey and you get an indication on there that happens to go into the percent gas range, it'll automatically switch over there. So you see at 10,000 parts per million or 1% gas, it's going to switch over and start giving you a percent gas and air scale. So because of this, like I said, it's a very versatile instrument. Can be used as both a surface sampling instrument and a subsurface to both center and pinpoint a leak, or to, like I said, even venture inside of a building if you need to for that. I briefly mentioned the self-test feature on it. I've got a video I was going to show you here that goes over it, but we recommend doing the self-test on this once a day. And what it does when you do the self-test, it just verifying that the instrument is working properly. So how it works on there is everything is contained right in the instrument. There is nothing external you need on there. So inside the instrument, there's a little reference cell or calibration cell that's in there with a known quantity of methane, and it's on a little rocker arm. And if you remember, I said that there's the chamber inside there with the light shining from one side to the other. What the calibration cell is, once you start the process for the self-test, it puts that rocker arm into that infrared light path, and then it adjusts itself. So again, I mentioned we recommend doing this once a day. Going to show you a video here on this one. So this is Roy. This is was performing the self-test the other day, and just going to show you just how quick and simple it is. It's just a press the menu button on the screen there, press the up arrow, and it begins to perform the self-test here. So you see the numbers start to increase. That's when that methane cell happened to pass within that light path, And you'll see two different numbers on here that you don't really need to pay attention to, but if you were wondering, the first one that it locks on is going to be what we call the uncorrected value of the instrument, and then it takes the cell out of the light path and puts it back in, which you can see the numbers going up again now. This is the corrected value, and all you're looking for as a user, you don't really need to focus on that. All you're looking for is for it to say self-test OK. So if it says that, you saw that took about 30 seconds. That's really all you do for the calibration procedure on this one. So, and generally we'd like to recommend that when the daily self-test is done, once that's finished, you also do a flow block test on this one. And what you're doing here is you're just making sure that there's no leaks from your point of inlet to the exhaust of the instrument. So you can see here, Roy, he covered the instrument up and then he blocked the probe once he had it on there. So, and then again too, I mentioned every time I do one of these self-tests, that data is recorded. So if you ever need to download that information again, it's saved on there. You can contact us. We'll let you know how to download that and get it off of there. So. One of the main improvements that we had for the IR Plus was in upgrading the Bluetooth on there. So the previous version was version 1.2. The new version is version 5. And again, I mentioned while you may not utilize the Bluetooth feature on there, we do have some utilities that have either designed their own either mapping or leakage software, or they've had a third-party developer do that. So the IR is able to integrate with some of those programs or softwares if you had them. Currently with the version 5 on there. So I mentioned the previous version of the DPIR, because that Bluetooth version was not up to the standards now that we have now, it wasn't able to work with those. So the new version is compatible with iOS, Android, Windows devices. Another big increase with version 5, it's a more secured connection, so it should meet all the security protocols that you have on that one. So it just makes it a lot easier to access the information. So. On the mobile survey side of it, Heath really has our bases covered when it comes to doing mobile surveys. So there's a lot of options out there for the mobile survey. You've got your advanced mobile surveys out there that are capable of going down to 1 part per billion. You've got your Heath, the optical methane detector, the OMD. But what I'm talking about here is we're using the DPIR for a mobile survey. So when you're doing that, what you're doing is the instrument itself is integrated with an external pump and then drop cones on here. So each of these instruments has a Heath mobile kit. So if you do use the DPIR for mobile survey, we do recommend using the Heath mobile kit on it. I know that that we made some changes to our mobile kit about 5 or 6 years ago. So I would recommend reaching out to your respective sales consultant if you do have a mobile kit on there to make sure that you have the most current and up-to-date version on there. Because what we did was so the old kits utilized the cones, would go to the external pump, and then it'd go to a flow gauge, which regulated the flow going to the instrument. We removed the flow gauge and put what we consider what's called a dump valve in there. And the dump valve allows the DPIR to take what it needs instead of forcing the sample on there. So the benefits of that actually made it a much faster response time in it. So again, if you're currently using a mobile kit, I would recommend taking a look at that. Make sure you have the latest version on there. Reach out to your sales consultant, and we'll work with you to make sure you have the most up-to-date version possible. So I'm going to show you this video here. I know we've had some sound issues with doing this in the past, so I'm going to explain this video and then I'm just going to let it play. But this is Roy here. He's doing a walking survey, and he finds an indication, and then it transitions into using the DPIR for below ground or for subsurface testing as well. So I'm going to turn the volume up on this one so you can hear this, and then just play it. So it's about 45 seconds long, so I'll try not to talk over it because I know we've had some sound issues here. So. Okay, so that video there kind of showed you the some of the methods of using it. I mentioned the walking survey and then bar hole testing. So you can see the quick response time that it got on the alarm. You can see, I don't know if you could see the numbers on the screen there, but so it sounds like the video may not be working, the sound may not be working on that. So we'll I guess try to improvise on that one. So anyway, the video itself still showed what I was trying to show is you know, the instrument being used for walking survey. You saw the numbers on the screen went up, and then it transitioned into Roy using the below ground probe for taking a subsurface reading on there too. So I know a lot of you guys who may utilize the DPIR don't take advantage of using it as the CGI portion for doing the below ground readings. But it certainly does have the option on there where you can actually, you know, classify leaks with the percent gas readings on there too as well. So the video here I talked about earlier. We won't turn the sound on this one, but I'll show you this video here. This is for doing above ground piping, and this could be checking a meter set. But I specifically put on here for using for method 21 for the EPA standards on here. I mentioned the DPIR has been approved by several states for use for that method 21 application. So this is just Roy here. You can see taking a reading there, and you know, this is for above ground application. You can see the readings on here. We've got about 19% gas starting off with, but that's just showing the application for above ground piping for those kind of applications for the DPIR. So now this one, I guess this is one of the biggest upgrades for the DPIR Plus was the increased pump and the increased response time specifically for the instrument. I've got a video here, just two videos. So if the sound is not working, then I guess encourage you to take a look at the numbers, because while you may not be able to hear the actual alarms, you can still see the response time just by looking at the numbers. So in this video, we've got a older DPIR on the left and then the DPIR Plus on the right. So right now you can see the two probes at the top are on the same leak. So we should have, you know, it's the same scenario here. Just want to show you the vastly superior response time on the DPIR Plus versus the DPIR. So if you take a look at the numbers, I'm going to go ahead and press play right here. So now that video, you know, if you were counting, it was about a 2-second response time quickness on the DPIR Plus, which may not sound like a lot, but I'll get into my next slide to show you why that may be important here. So second video, assuming the sound's not working on this one either, again, take a look at the numbers. You see the unit on the left is the older DPIR and the unit on the right is the DPIR Plus. So I'm going to go ahead and hit play on these and take a look at the numbers. Okay, so what I was talking about there is response time. So that's the big improvement on the DPIR Plus is the upgraded optics and board and pump really have a big portion to play with the increased response time, because while I mentioned the old pump was drawing about 1.2 liters a minute, the new pump is 2 liters a minute. Now, that may not mean anything to you when it comes to that, but the bottom line is it rapidly increases the response time. So this slide here talks about why response time is actually important. When you're trying to compare an instrument with its sensitivity. So if an instrument says it has a sensitivity of, you know, 1 or 2 or 10 parts per million, and the response time is slower, that could actually lead to negative effects on the response on the actual sensitivity side of it. So this primarily goes for smaller leaks. Now on large leaks, response time, sensitivity, you're going to find the large leaks really with anything on there. So you know, the large leaks, you're going to be able to find those with pretty much any product in the market. Now the smaller leaks, that's where response time sensitivity really comes into play. Now I spent a lot of years in the field doing leak survey myself, and I know some of the most hazardous leaks that I ever found were not leaks that I got a big surface sample reading on. They were ones that had a very minimal spread on them. They were very small leaks at the surface, and that might have been several factors. It could have been, I know a lot of them, you know, working in the Northeast where you have frost on the ground. If you have, you know, a couple foot of frost in the ground, it's really going to affect the spread of that leak there. So, so when you have a sensitivity and response time, when you have a decreased response time on a small leak, what happens then is you have more chance for the air to be diluted. And then by the time that sample actually gets to the detector, it might have been diluted to the point where your sensitivity is not as quick and as diluted. So the big takeaway with this, I didn't want to get too into the weeds in this slide, just saying that if sensitivity can decrease if response time is slower. So an improved response time can lead to a more sensitive instrument is really kind of all that I'm going out on this one here. So kind of in summary, before I turn it over here, talking about the DPIR and some of the upgrades that we made to it. Like I said, the big things are the response time. We really have cut that in half. We're really looking at about a 1 second response time instrument now. So really happy, really excited about that. Mentioned the changes in the Bluetooth, upgraded to Bluetooth version 5. But as I mentioned before, the older instruments are not upgradable, but however, any instrument purchased now will be a DPIR plus. So kind of wanted to, talk about, wanted to cover, the methods of application for it, how it can be used as a surface sampling instrument for below ground readings, for mobile survey, and then a lot for I mentioned the method 21 applications, and it's, approved in a lot of the states, most recently for California. So again, that's kind of my presentation here. So saying that, I will try to turn it over to Ken Cower right now and let Ken tell you a little bit about our services side of the business. So Ken, go ahead and take it away if you can.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Let me get my screen shared here. All right, what I want to talk to you today is about the leak survey and different service offerings that Heath provides to our customers. Most folks realize that Heath has been in the leak survey business for 87 years, starting out back in 1933 in Massachusetts doing vegetation surveys. What a lot of people fail to realize is that we are more than just a leak survey provider. Heath actually, through those years and working with partnerships with our customers, has gotten into the the equipment manufacturing, as well as then that led into other service offerings that we'll talk about here shortly. So, but to start off with, and Eric, I guess I got an issue here. My slides are not forwarding. I can see it on mine, but not on. We got a little bit of a glitch here. Let me check a view here. Here we go. Now we're good. So our core values, I apologize for that. Our core values is really what we expect from all of our employees in the way we deal with the general public as performing our services, but really most importantly in the way we perform for our customers. These core values are covered on day one with each of our employees when they come on board with Heath, and we continue to reinforce those values with our employees through regular training, meetings with our teams, and then also the expectation is that we carry that forward throughout their entire career. And basically, if you go through those there, it's safety is a big one. Communicate openly and honestly. A lot of these are just really the basic core values that most corporations would have that we tend to hold our people to this standard moving forward. All right, Heath as a strategic partner, the one thing that we like to think of ourselves as is a partnership with the utility. Is we don't want to consider ourselves just basic contractors that are in the business of conducting leak survey. We view ourselves as a partner. We want to help our customers improve the safety of their system. We want to help them do it efficiently and effectively. And the way we go about doing that is we have an experienced management team that is on site for our projects across the country. As Eric mentioned earlier in the presentation, we have over 1,300 field employees, and I'll show you in a second here how we're split up geographically across the country. But those 1,300 technicians are really the face of Heath Consultants, and it's the relationship that they have with our customers, combined with the experience of our management team, that we can capitalize on and work with our utility partners to basically provide a quality service and help them keep the general public safe as well. Our geographic footprint, we're split up into 4 regions. Each of the regions has a regional headquarters. So basically, those regions are set up with a director and then their local operations teams underneath, consisting of area managers and field supervisors. Our field supervisors have direct responsibility for our technicians in the field and the performance of those technicians, and our area managers then have more of the interaction with our clients and interaction with the contract side of the business. Our focus from a management standpoint is we've done a lot of work over the last several years of bringing about a focus to our management team and looking at the different aspects of our business from the standpoint of what matters to our customers. And from a customer perspective, we believe that safety is obviously paramount importance. And so from a safety standpoint, we spend a lot of time doing hazard awareness training, driver safety training. We provide a variety of PPE. And most importantly, we get out in the field from a management standpoint with our technicians to observe them in the field to ensure that they're properly recognizing hazards, they're properly reacting to those hazards, and that they're keeping themselves safe. If they can't keep themselves safe, we aren't able to perform a quality service for our customer. Our second aspect that we focus on is quality. Heath has always prided itself on the quality of service that we provide. We may not always be the cheapest, but we will be the best. And we go about doing that through monthly audits and monthly observations of our technicians. And again, that is conducted by our management team. And so those audits can consist of going back over work that was already completed by a technician and checking it for accuracy. It could be photo audits. It could be riding along with the technician in the field and coaching them and observing them every step of the way. On-time performance is obviously critical as well. Everything that we do is tied to a compliance date in the natural gas industry, and so it's very important that we have the proper staff on board to handle the work volumes that we've been contracted to complete. And so from our standpoint, we're going to focus on proactive recruitment so that we have a steady pipeline of applicants coming into our recruiters. And obviously, it's been difficult here in the U.S. over the last few years because of the job market being at a 50-year high, and so it's been difficult. But we feel that if we stay proactive with that and keep a steady flow of applicants coming in and dealing with our customers as far as having work volumes up front, scheduling that out over time, and having an agreed upon schedule, that we can adequately address the on-time performance. The other aspect to the on-time performance is the production tracking. It's critical that we know what our burn rates are as we go through a given month, quarter, or year to ensure that we're remaining in compliance. And so between the staffing and the tracking and dealing with the customer, knowing what the work volumes are up front, we can manage on-time performance. And finally, it is efficiency. And in our opinion, safety, quality, and on-time issues add nothing but cost to our operation. And so if we focus on safe performance, quality performance, and on-time performance, we will be efficient. And if we're efficient, that leads to more effective pricing for our customers and an improved service for our customers. So we're also focusing on the productivity improvement side of that as well. So between the safety, quality, on-time, and productivity aspects, we believe that we can be an efficient operation and provide a quality service to our customers. Now, our service offering. So as I mentioned earlier, most everyone realizes that Heath is a gas leak survey provider and has been for decades. That gas leak detection service offering consists of portable and mobile surveys. We have technicians all across the country that are doing walking survey, but we have several that are doing mobile survey. And Eric touched on some of the mobile units earlier in his presentation. We also do distribution and transmission surveys. The majority of our work is on the distribution side of the business, but we do a substantial amount of work for transmission companies in the way of walking pipelines and mobiling pipelines. Inside meter inspections is one that we've seen a significant increase in interest in over the last few years. As manual meter reading has gone away, the responsibility for conducting that inside meter check has fallen back to the leak survey side of the business. And so we actually have customers where we go and perform cold calls, knocking on doors to get inside to check meters. And in other areas, we have call centers to where we schedule appointments to send a crew out to perform those inside inspections. And the last thing with regards to the gas leak detection is patrols, and those come in a variety of different manners. It could be a frost patrol for areas where you have harsh winters and frost depth gets down to the pipe and causes main breaks. Certain parts of the country where we have natural disasters such as wildfires and earthquakes and floods that we've been called out on for patrols, and a variety of different opportunities there. A gas leak pinpointing is another offering we have. And the pinpointing side, some of you may think, well, pinpointing is part of leak survey. And what we call pinpointing is really different from the normal leak survey. Gas leak detection survey with a portable instrument such as a dipper that you see in the picture there is conducted in a search mode. But when we find an indication, we will go and center the leak with a plunger bar, as you see in the picture, and basically try to get an indication as to the spread of that leak so that we can classify it. Pinpointing is actually coming back with a separate crew to a known leak location and taking that information that we have from the leak report and actually pinning the location down to a 2x4 square on the street to where a repair crew can then come back out and dig and repair that leak. The pinpointing service actually allows repair crews to be more productive, because when they show up, they can immediately start digging to repair the leak, rather than having to go through the pinpointing process. And so we've offered pinpointing as a service for several years, and have customers that have us perform that across the country. Damage prevention is an area that we got into back in the mid-90s, and what we found is that our niche from a damage prevention standpoint was on the single party focus on natural gas. Our customers had experienced pain with other located providers that were multi-party providers. Their focus was split amongst a variety of utilities, and our customers wanted to focus just on natural gas and completing that locate accurately and timely and safely. And so what we started back in the mid-90s was a damage prevention group that has since evolved to where today we have a substantial amount of locating work across the country that's just, again, single party focus on natural gas. We've also evolved into excavation monitoring to where we've had contracts with customers to where we go and will actually monitor known excavation. Once the locate has been completed, we would go back out then to make sure that the excavator is following prudent digging techniques and local 811 laws. Meter services is an aspect of our business that we provided since about the late 90s, early 2000s, and basically that consists of meter reading, the traditional manual meter reading, which is reducing as time goes on and more customers convert over to automated meter reading. But we also conduct the automated meter reading, the driving routes. We do meter change outs and build outs with customers to where we will actually go and swap out meters on a regular schedule. We'll change indexes when they're converting to an AMR program. And in some cases, we'll actually schedule with builders and subdivisions to where we go and build the meter sets to have ready for when they come in to attach to the home, and then we'll ultimately gas up and light up the home. And the final aspect of the meter services is meter painting. Cathodic protection test reads. Eric had mentioned that we have Norton Corrosion, which is a full-fledged corrosion engineering firm. The test reads that we do on the Heaths side of the business is just simply that. It's a basic pipe to soil read going out to test stations that the customer provides us locations on, and we'll take a reading to determine whether it is showing us protected or not, and then turn that information back into our clients. And finally, we've got atmospheric corrosion inspections, and we see more and more of that throughout the country as well too, as again with manual meter reading going away. That was traditionally done by manual meter readers, and so that service is now falling back to the leak survey side of the business. And finally, you know, we pride ourselves on our core values, our client partnerships, our management focus on performance, and the service offerings that we provide. But we could not do any of that without our employees. And we desire to be the employer of choice within the markets that we serve. We offer a wide variety variety of benefits to our employees, and we engage them in the daily operation of the company and try to involve them in decisions that impact them, and have a keen focus on what drives them and motivates them, because it's our employees that set us apart from the competition. We aren't able to serve our customers without the dedicated employees that we have in the field and the management team that we have to help coach and develop and assist them to perform the level of service that's expected. So Eric, I will turn this back over to you. That ends mine.
Okay.
So.
Thanks, Ken. I appreciate your help with this. Vivian, I don't know if you wanted to try to go through some of the questions here. I think we've got some good ones. If you can.
Yeah. So thank you everybody for being in attendance today. So let's start going through some questions. First question is, can the battery on the DPIR be changed out with a fresh one while the used one is being recharged?
So Kevin or Vineet, I'll let you guys take over to answer the questions here, just to make it easier.
Hello, this is Vineet. So yes, battery can be changed. There are 4 screws at the back that can be used, but most people prefer they can charge the instrument while in vehicle using an inverter. So that's also an option.
Okay. So second question would be, what is the recommended speed for mobile surveying while using the DPIR Plus?
So that's a good question. So the slower the speed, as Eric was pointing out, the response time is very key, and the faster speeds tend to dilute the sample. So in order to find small leaks, the slower speed is preferred. 10 to 20 miles per hour is a typical speed for mobile survey recommended.
Okay. What is the electronic sampling rate for the DPIR Plus?
So the sampling rate, as it is in terms of the instrument as it displays and reacts to an alarm setting, is about 5 Hertz.
Perfect. What does the DPIR Plus come with, or does the DPIR Plus come with a probe for pinpointing?
Yes, that's a good question. So as Eric was pointing out, you use DPIR Plus not only for surface leaks, but also for subsurface leaks, and we provide a transparent barhole probe in order to be able to center and pinpoint the leak.
Okay. Does the increased pump speed on the DPIR Plus adversely affect obtaining sustained CGI readings critical to leak classification by purging the reading to 0?
I would say that we recommend, and it's true for even the earlier DPIR, depending on what kind of sustained leak is there and below the ground, that you use the DPIR for 3 to 5 seconds to find the reading, and that's the method that most customers have been using. But I would let Ken cover, or Eric also jump in with that question on the application side.
Eric? I'm sorry, Vineet, yes. Go ahead on that one again.
I think the question is that would the higher pump rate will affect the subsurface reading to be lower because it's consuming the gas quickly.
Yes, not. I mean, it's you're still looking for your sustained reading on there, and it's really gonna. You should get the same readings on that. It's gonna vent out. Now vent out or purge a lot faster, but yeah, your readings really should be similar regardless on that. So.
Okay. Is the DPIR Plus compatible with Android and any other devices?
So again, good question. Yes, DPIR with the new Bluetooth device, BLE version 5, the data is available to pair with or connect with an iPhone or an Android or a Windows 10 device.
Okay. So I'm going to go with our last question here. It's kind of a lengthy one, so stay with me. Survey responses are usually expressed as ppm. Underground responses are usually expressed as percent gas. When testing underground, can the sensitivity be limited to, for example, 0.1% gas or 0.5% gas? This would be useful in eliminating false positives produced by low-level swamp gas. Many LDCs are spending significant funds sending out samples for GC analysis when these low levels of swamp gas are interpreted as readings.
And I'll try to answer this question, but Eric, if you want to jump in at any time. One thing is you can use the percentage gas mode, which limits itself down to only 0.1% to show the leak. So if you want to, instead of using the auto ranging mode, you press the down arrow and go to the percentage gas mode, it will limit itself to about 1000 ppm or above leaks. So that may help with that question, but if there is something specific you need, maybe you need to speak with the sales consultant who can help you with that. But Eric, you want to answer that also?
Yes, that's not too much more on that, Vinny. But yeah, you're right. As far as I didn't get into it during the presentation, but there, while the vast majority of the time you will use the DPIR in what we consider the auto range mode, meaning that you'll start in the ppm and it'll automatically switch over to percent gas once you have that. You do have the ability to use it in a parts per million only mode or a percent gas only mode. So if you're looking for specifically just percent gas readings, all you would do is it's just pressing the down arrow. If you press the down arrow one time, it puts it in the parts per million only mode. If you press the down arrow 2 times, it puts it into percent gas only mode. So if you're just looking for percent gas readings, that's how you could do it via that way. So.
All right.
Okay. So just a couple quick questions that came in. Can it be used to check LEL levels during venting?
So it is essentially, as Eric was mentioning, either a percentage gas mode or a ppm mode. So LEL is a conversion factor of A. So 500 ppm is 1% LEL or 5%, or depending on your utility may have 4% as LEL level. So you can then convert that into LEL. So there is no display of LEL on the screen.
Yeah, I could jump in a little bit too. Yeah, we like Vineet mentioned, it's just parts per million and percent gas. I know a lot of utilities in the United States have always used the LEL scale, but some are trying to get rid of it just from a simplicity standpoint. They're trying to make it just a lot easier. That's kind of what we did with the DPIR. Is it doesn't have the LEL, and I know I didn't mention that in the presentation. Maybe I should have, but it just goes straight into percent gas. There is no LEL scale on. Just we did that just to try to make it I guess as simple as possible. So.
Okay, and then we'll do our one last question here. How much information can be stored on the DPIR Plus? For how long is it kept? For example, the calibration log, and will it notify you if it's going to overwrite existing info?
So again, very good question. So the calibration log memory is long enough that even if you do, typically most people do daily calibration, it will last 5 to 10 years. So chances are that you will send in the instrument for repair before, and we can help. If it is getting full, then it can be recovered and refreshed.
Okay, excellent. I'm going to turn this back over to Eric to wrap up for us.
I just want to answer one more quick question here, which has come up. Sorry, Vivian. One is that for the Method 21 application, we do want to mention that we also sell a Method 21 probe, which is needed in order for the instrument to be used for Method 21 application for emission checks. And there were some questions related to how to center and how to pinpoint the leaks and under the pavement, and also we do have plunger bar and other equipment that you can use to dig holes and there's a whole process of centering and pinpointing, and you can contact your local salesperson and he can help you with understanding the process and methodology of using that way to be able to find the exact location of leak using DPIR or DPIR Plus. That's it.
Thank you, Vineet. Thanks, Vivian. Thanks, Ken, for your participation. And yeah, wrapping up here, again, want to thank everybody. We had another great attendance here. Appreciate all the questions and appreciate your involvement here. And again, thank you for taking some time out of your day to come and listen to Heath Consultants here. So hoping to do some of these again in the future. We'll try to have some more information to you shortly on that one. But again, I greatly appreciate it. It means a lot to us to have this kind of attendance here. So hope everyone's doing well, staying safe, and we will see you next time. And I guess shortly too, I do have the map of the United States up here too. So if you did have some questions, whether you'd like some information on pricing or some more detailed questions that you might like to speak to your sales consultant more one-on-one, please feel free to reach out. I'll keep this slide up there for a little while longer. But again, thanks, Evan, for your time, and we'll see you next time. Take care, everybody. Thank you.